Hi everyone. This is part 3 of my kilt making series. This is Poppy. This is my brother's dog. I am dog sitting while he's out doing his thing. This is part 3 of my kilt making series. If this is your first time seeing me in this series, you'll need to go back to video 1 where I cover just the overview of a kilt and all the different parts. I show you what stitches you're going to need. I show you how to do them. And let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it. And then in part 2, I go through measuring the fabric, sewing the pleats, shaping the apron, doing the basting, and then what was the last part? Cutting the fish. In this video, part 3, I start with the buttonhole and then the steeking. And the steeking is what holds the deep pleats down, or the pleats on the inside that holds those in place. And then I sew the outer edges of the apron and under apron. And then I start laying the canvas. And that's where this one will end. And I'll pick up the others in the next one. So as I've stated before, this is the first time I've ever made a kilt. Anything you see me doing is the first time. So I've not done this and redone it. This is my first time. So if this sounds like something you want to do and you want to follow along, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and the bell so you're notified when I upload more videos. Thanks. Bye. Okay, so you're going to cut this flap the same length as the fish that you cut out. So this point here. And then you go in I want to make sure I cut that a little bit further. And you make sure you do not cut through that end. I'm going to cut it back a little bit. Okay, so it's going to have to be a little bit more. You want to make sure you don't cut through the fold, but you need to make sure that you can expose the buttonhole right here. I don't know if you can see that. There's your buttonhole. And this is why he does it. And let me see there. This is going to be really close. Oh, that's very close. Okay, so the reason why this is not how it's done in the book, but he designed this method and I really like it, is because he needs to fold this back and he needs all these things to be out of the way. So one layer at a time, he trims this off. Okay, so there's the line. So this needs to be cut back as well. We're going to go to that first blue line. Okay, so see, it's going to come back like that. And you can see right here where this gets in the way. So I'm just gonna take it more at an angle or straight line. We just want to make sure that it's going to clear this. So then you look at the next one, and that needs to be cleared away as well. Okay, so there it is. I can feel that line. So it looks like it's on this blue one. I'm cutting the top one first so then I can see the bottom one a little easier. Okay, that looks like it needs to come down a little bit. And remember, we're still below this white chalk mark, so we're still good. And that needs to come off. Now, he said that he designed this system himself. And the reason why I'm going with this is if it just makes sense to me, if someone sees something done and they go, oh, you know what, this could be better, then I kind of want to go with that. If you have a reason why you're doing it or why did you change it and it works better, then I'm more likely going to do that. Now, I'm thinking when I get these all cut back, I'm going to grade them. Okay, so we're getting closer. He's going one layer at a time and I'm already not doing it that way. Okay. I'm going to stair step it because I don't like that thick single layer. Okay, so this one needs so it looks like I just need to I'm going to cut these back a little bit. Okay. There is going to be a little ridge. There is going to be a little ridge right here because I don't want to keep trimming all this other stuff back. And if that little ridge is the worst thing that can happen on the kilt, then I'm good. Okay, so now the way he explains it is that most kilts will have you laid out like this, but if you pull on it, you see a shirt, the undershirt or whatever you're wearing. So he comes back like this and creates a little overlap. And I thought that was a really good idea. So that's what I'm going to do. Because if you have a reason for changing it, it's probably a good reason to change it. Okay. Next, we're going to do our steeking. I still feel like this needs to be cut back a little bit. Or should I just trim this off? I don't want to do that. You know what? I think the steeking might take care of that. Because what the steeking does is, instead of sewing like this and these things getting off, you stitch them straight like this. So this white line is going to be straight, which will straighten this out. And I believe it clears away for this. And if it doesn't, I'll trim it then. Okay, so this is kind of weird. He is left-handed, so he sews like this, and he has the advantage in being left-handed because I'll show you what he's going to do. He starts with the first pleat, and what he says is you don't want to stretch your kilt, but you want to add a little tension. So you want it flat, but you also want a little tension to make sure it's going to lie properly. And then he does this, and I'm not left-handed. So I don't want to trust my left hand to actually do the stitching. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to stitch but still keep that pressure, that tension on. So I haven't sewn anything down yet. Okay, so you want it flat, but you want this to have a little tension. And then you just start sewing. But he doesn't talk about how deep to go in. It doesn't look like he's going all the way through. That would be too much. So you're probably getting a little bit from this under this deep pleat, because it needs to be deep enough to hold this in place, but not so deep that you see stitching on the other side. And even if it came through a little bit, you probably wouldn't see it because I'm using black thread. And I think if you use a short needle, you're going to naturally guard against going all the way through. So he goes about halfway through and then brings the next one over and lays it on top and creates that just a little tension there. Just make sure it's lined flat. And then he starts sewing it down. So it's not tip to tip like this. You go in and then you come back and stitch the next one down. So I'll probably sew to the first blue line and then I'll just do a little back stitch in its place, because I haven't done this before to know how it's going to behave. So without pulling, you start here. Let's see if I can see what's on the other side. Can't see anything. Thread's black. But I feel good about it. The hem is lining up. Get all this thread out of here as I go along. Come back up to the fold. And this is called steeking. So I'm doing basically a back stitch. I honestly don't remember what he said to do. It looks like he's doing the same thing. So where your needle comes up, you're going to go back behind that and go in and come out beyond that. Okay, I'm going to tie this one off here. The thread's getting too small, and I will get new thread. I don't know if you've noticed that when I first started out, I was taking little tiny stitches and lots of them, and now I'm taking larger and fewer stitches. And that is because, like I said before, you can tell if your stitches are right. You can kind of feel it. And I figured the more fabric I get into a stitch, the better it feels, the more secure it feels. And in order to get that much fabric in your stitch, you have to take bigger ones. So that's why I'm taking bigger and fewer stitches. I'm just trying to grab enough fabric from the other side before I actually tie a knot in this. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over to see what it looks like on the other side. And if there's any bubbling or bulging, I'm going to be upset. Can't believe I had the guts to actually cut that. Okay, looks good. As good as it's gonna be. So I'm gonna take a break before the next step. Okay, I got this part done, but I forgot that I needed to do something else first. And that is, let me move this over. I need to sew down this flap here, because the next step is to put the canvas in, and this has to be sewn down. So I'm going to flip it around, and because of the angle of this, there's an issue down here. So I'm going to fix that and also sew it down. So that's what we're starting with. I just kind of want to give you guys, kind of orient you to what's going on the table. So because I was looking from this angle, I didn't realize how far off this was. So I'm going to fix it. Just pin it down before I start sewing. Okay, and here, all I'm doing is just taking the very edge and close it up. All the way across to here. instead of going in this way, pull through, this way, pull through, this way, pull through, I'm just kind of catching 3 or 4 and then pulling it through. So I'm going to the outside, inside, the outside, the inside. And then I just kind of smooth it out to make sure I'm not pulling it too tight and creating puckers. I checked the other side of the kilt, and you can't see the threads on that side, but they are securely sewn down. Outside fabric in the fold, outside fabric in the fold. Okay, I'm still going to leave these basting stitches in. Okay. Okay, now we need to get started on the canvas. Okay, so I just recorded a video about the canvas, and come find out, my camera wasn't on. So this is horsehair canvas, and this is what the book recommends. So in my attempt to do everything perfectly right, which has fallen by the wayside, I looked around for this, and I happened to come across it in a little fabric shop in Virginia. So I picked it up and was hanging on to it till we got to this part. So when I measured it out, it wasn't long enough, so I cut it in 3 strips and pieced it together right here. And I was showing you how I piece it together. This is basically a flat felled seam, and I didn't catch any of it. I set up a second camera, so I'm hoping that I got a shot there. So what we're going to do here I'm going to kind of spread this, make sure that it's at the correct angle according to the measurements of the waist and hip. I don't want there to be any um, bubbles or loose areas on the back end. I want everything to be completely flat. Now, over here, Robert talked about how he came up with a new method on making this buttonhole. So I'm going to do it like he did. The book recommends you take a little piece of canvas and you tuck it underneath where the buttonhole is. And I did that, and I was like trying to sew it in, and it didn't work. So I really like Robert's idea on this one. So that's what we're going to do. And he recommends folding it under about the same width as the flap that comes back from the buttonhole. So we're going to push that right up into the crease like that. And then make sure it's under there until I feel comfortable enough to base this down. I'm just going to pin it. Now, what you need to keep in mind, depending, I mean, mine still has to, but you want this area, measure out your canvas according to this area, which is, if your canvas is 5 inches down from the top. So I'm going to hold that there, but I'm going to come over here. Let me see how far I can. I really don't want the kilt to be draping off the table if I can help it. So he says to take this about an inch or so from the end, but also fold back as a section, and to allow for adjustments on this end if you need it, for like alterations. Because the waist is going to be narrower than this area, which is closer to your hip, you want to measure from that area. And then I'll show you what to do when we get to the curved areas. Ouch. Remember, keep making sure that you're aligning your canvas to the top. I might have to flip this over because this looks like a straighter edge than this one. But I'm just going to show you what we're doing. So you can see I'm pulling this a little taut here. And down here, it's a little looser. Mine's not going to be too loose at the waist because there's not much difference between the waist and the hip of the kilt anyway. Okay, so the crease would be here. And it does come at an angle. So we're going to go with it. And we're going to make sure it's going to have that little covering of the buttonhole on this side that I discussed in the other video. Okay. So, like I said, mine's not going to have too many tucks or looser areas up here, but where there is and where I can grab them, I'm just going to put little pleats in. If I was working on a woman's kilt or someone who has more of a difference between waist and hip ratio, I would have pleats up here, but doesn't look like I'm going to have to deal with that too much. I will look at Robert's videos more than once and sometimes more than 2 or 3 times before I break it down and make my video for my channel. And what he does is, I was really worried about this part, like what's going to happen when you have to base the canvas to the apron, because you're going to see the threads on the other side. But after like the 3rd time, I was really paying attention because my mind wanders a lot. He bastes it from here to here, and then he'll take a little basting across the top to hold the canvas to the kilt, and then he'll come over here and he'll do this area here. And the reason why is he bastes it up here so that when he puts the waistband on, the basting is holding the canvas to the kilt. So that's why he does that. And I think we're ready. I just want to make sure that before I get started, I want to make sure that this canvas is all the way tucked into that edge under there. See if I can find my ruler. Just going to lay it in there. Okay. And I have wondered the whole time, how do I keep from showing my stitches on the other side, even though I cut this down, but this is still really thick under here. So I'm not going to show threads on the other side. I'm going to come back over here because this looks like it needs to come up this way a little bit. Let's go this way. If there's going to be any gapping, I'd rather it be taken up in that fold over there. Now, at this point, Robert will take this area down here and trim it because he's using a cotton twill canvas, and he doesn't want to have to sew through all those layers, but this is so so thin, it's almost see-through, and I'm not worried about it. It's a loose weave, so I'm not going to have trouble, I don't think, getting my needle through that. Ow. I am not having trouble getting needles in my hands either. Okay, for the basting, we are going to start up here, and we'll go down to here and come back and just keep doing this. Oh, these are big stitches. I think I'm going to go back and redo that. I think that might be better. I think I was trying to go through too many layers. Okay, I'm taking this until all the way down to the last pleat where I cut it. I'm taking it a little past that just to make sure that that is sewn down. I'm going to take it down here. So I can see where it's cut here. I want to make sure I grab that. Ouch. Oh my gosh. Always poking myself. I have to tuck these points in. It started bleeding. I poke myself a lot, but I don't always bleed. I'm gonna work. I tried to sew with my left hand. It seems like it would work better. Learning another skill can hurt. Okay, now I'm watching for the last cut pleat. Okay, gosh, I think I sew better with my left hand than I do with my right. I'm reaching underneath to make sure I don't come through the front of the kilt with my needle. Not that you would be able to see it anyway. Okay, when he does, his pleats were really big because he had a bigger difference between waist and halfway point to the hips. And he just did this just to hold these pleats in place. Mine are, my pleat barely folds over, but I'm going to do this anyway, just to make sure that I don't have any gaping up here. And when I get further up, I might see what I can pull out to sew down, just to make sure there's not going to be any gaping at the top. I'm taking the needle in as deep as I can without feeling my finger. I want to grab as much fabric under there as I can without it causing any kind of puckering. He didn't say anything about that specifically, but I just feel like that's probably what we need to do, is grab as much as we can. Oh, it came out again. I'm going to have to tie on another one. I know this is a small stitch, but I just want to make sure it's secured all the way to the top. And then I'm past the pleats. Now, in the event that I need to take these out, I'm just going to knot it here. And this is simply to secure the canvas to the apron to make applying the belt, the band, a little easier. I've never sewn with my left hand before. It's not as weird as I thought it would be. I'm certainly not as heavy-handed with my left hand. Okay, there's the fold, so I'm not going to go past that. On the parts where I'm not talking, I will probably speed up the video, but I do want to let you know that since I started the video and started recording, the canvas part has been so far 37 minutes, just to kind of give you an idea what kind of timeline you're looking at when doing a job like this. And it doesn't even seem that long to me. I'm hesitant to hold it like this because you see when people are making suit jackets and they're padding the lapel and stuff, they lift it and they curve it, and I don't want there to be that kind of shaping, but at the same time I need to feel where my needle is coming through at the bottom. So it's like I lift it to feel for it and then put it back down. There's no shaping on of that sort in this part of the kilt. And I haven't done this enough times to know what it feels like when you've gone all the way through. You can see me tying these knots differently each time because I'm trying to decide which way I like best. I do it this way, where you tie them like you do your shoestrings, but it doesn't always lead to a nice tight knot. So I try it the other way. Like right now it feels okay, but I'm going to finish up with this kind of knot. So in case that one gives, there will be this one to hopefully secure it. Okay, Robert takes his scissors and he cuts that corner. He calls it relieving it. I don't know why. And I don't know if it would help my frame or not, but I'm not going to cut it. Maybe when I get to the lining part, I'll understand why. But at this point, I'm not doing it. You guys can do it if you want to. I don't know if that just has something to do with the fact that he trims back the part that he folds back so that he doesn't have to cut through 2 layers, or he doesn't have to sew through 2 layers of the canvas. But like I said, mine is super thin and loose weave, this horsehair canvas. So not worried about it. And if I figure out why he did it, because of an issue I come into later, I'll let you know. But right now I'm going to take a break. My back hurts.